So let me know, what is Xhilo?
Xhilo is a new NFT project that's launching hopefully in October. It will bring probably better utility to the NFT marketplace than any other project I've seen. The purpose of it is to sort of revitalize education. So the process works a little something like this. You purchase the NFT at the alpha, the Genesis, when it first launches. Every year, it will generate 2 education passes. When it generates those, you can either use those to attend college, or in the future, plans for trade schools and that sort of thing. That education pass will give you up to 80% off of a college education. We have deals with schools from Florida to Indiana that all have agreed to discount the education as we bring them students. Okay. So that's where you're getting that 80% discount on the education. But the other side of that I see a lot of people taking advantage of, because of that utility, I think we're going to see a lot of people reselling those education passes, because as it generates 2 of those a year, you can resell those on the open market for up to the cost of that discount. Which, I mean, think about it. If you pay $50,000 for your education, 80% of that. I went to college late in life, and I can't do math in public, but it's a lot of money. So you can imagine what it'd be worth. And of course, there's no set amount that would go for. You'll see, if you've ever been on OpenSea or Rarible or NFT Marketplace, you see there's a big gap in what those are worth, but I can see them being worth thousands a piece.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Nothing short of that. I mean, it's an NFT, an Xhilo NFT pass, the education pass, is worth 1 semester of college.
Yeah.
So every time you use a pass, I mean, if a semester's, let's do easy math, right? If a semester's 10,000 and we got you a deal for 80% off, you burn the pass and you pay $2,000 for that semester of school.
Amazing.
To take 5 classes, you'd pay $2,000.
Yeah.
You know, I was doing some research and I looked up the University of Maryland, and in their catalog that was posted, their 1954 to 1960 catalog, I looked in there at their tuition rates and their fees and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So undergraduate program out-of-state tuition was $512. So we're giving you an education at like 1960 prices.
That's crazy.
And then I looked up the same University of Maryland, same degree.
Yep.
Same everything.
What is it now?
23 catalog is $19,700.
Wow. That's enormous. That's like a 30-some thousand percent.
Right.
Increase.
Right. Like the growth, it's not logical. It's not logical to have that.
I mean, that's way faster than inflation.
You know, now, and we only have one piece of data, and we need, lots of other data to compare it. But like,
it's a good example.
Just tuition, you start questioning. You're like, okay, so can you justify this hike in tuition? Because if you can, then it's worth the investment, right?
Sure.
I was looking at nursing, so it was $512 to get a bachelor's in nursing. And it's $19,700 to get a bachelor's in nursing today. And so if you were to come out and have the same return on investment, then you just pay the $19,000.
Mm-hmm.
But when you start reading in the same article that hospitals put a cap on nurses' earnings because they were struggling through the 70s. They were struggling through the 70s, and so the hospitals were, and so they put a cap on nurses' earnings, and so
Wow.
Yeah, so not doctors' earnings, not nurses' earnings. Talk like
the low man.
Devaluing.
Sheesh.
So now they're still going to school, and the price of education is going up, but the hospitals stagnated their pay. And so now there's the question. Is it worth getting a nursing degree for that cost, which it's worth getting a nursing degree. If you really want to be a nurse, you're going to pay whatever it takes.
Yeah.
I want to find those people and show them that we can help them pay $2,000 and not $19,000. Because wouldn't you rather be a nurse with $2,000? You don't even have debt. You pay that off.
Yeah. And we always hear that, like our grandparents, they worked at the corner store or what have you to pay their way through college, and it's so alien to people now, and you see a lot of vitriol about it on social media, like it's not the same thing. You can't just, if you were to work, I did some math, if you were to pay for your college outright at minimum wage, you'd have to work 61 hours a week to pay for just a base community college education. Can you work 61 hours in a week and a full load of classes?
No, not even mathematically.
Probably not. Yeah.
No.
It just doesn't work. So this new offering from Xhilo allows people to go back to those, the good old days when you could work at the soda fountain or whatever it was, and pay your way through college, come out debt free,
and then you're getting skills. You get a mentor. That soda pop job, you have a boss that you have to report to. So less and less teenagers are working at all. They're going to school and they're playing sports, and then they go to college and they do the same thing. They go to college, they play sports. So a lot of them, the first time that they have a job, they're 22 years old.
Yeah.
And
that's incredible. So you get no life skills coming into the workforce.
But they're entitled because they've done all this education and they think they know a lot more than they do. And they have very little respect for people who worked their way through because they weren't educated. And there's this elitist mentality where I don't think that existed as much when we were working and going to school at the same time.
No, not at all.
There were very few people who could afford to go to school and not work.
Yeah.
And they had rich parents. They went to different schools typically, and so, we really just want to level the playing field again. In all of, when everybody's just answering the other businesses' action. One business makes a decision and the other business responds. And then
it saves them money.
So
and that makes sense. You would expect that.
Somebody's got to come in and level the playing field. And this is like the year of Jubilee, right? Like we're going to level everything and start over.
Yeah, start over. And I think you mentioned a while ago the cliff that's coming in 2025 and how a lot of people are going to do this mass exodus and maybe not even go to college. And people are starting to see through the processes and the veil that is the confusing college financial experience. But I think, like you said, this levels the playing field and it puts education in reach to everyone, which is important. The impetus behind President Biden's $500 billion student loan forgiveness was to help middle class and lower classes, so they can get an education, so they can level the playing field. It's not going to.
Right.
But
it's actually going to segregate the playing field more, because the typical response of the colleges to any kind of government intervention, they raise tuition. And so that's probably one of the factors for this talk about the 2025 cliff. If we have this loan payoff that results in a tuition hike, people are already doubting the return on investment for college right now. So if you raise tuition costs, it's going to be a no-brainer. They're just going to say no. But what's going to happen is we're going to start losing people like nurses who really do need a degree to go do their job effectively. Right? And so we want to help people like that who still need to go to college, who still, but they don't need that $19,000 price tag.
Right?
Like if we can get it for them for $500, we will. And if we can talk to someone about, like, if you want to do jewelry making, can we talk about entrepreneurship and maybe not a degree in psychology?
Maybe like a 10-week Xhilo Academy course online or something like that.
Right.
Like,
I mean,
that doesn't require a bachelor's, surely.
think about a certification, like an entrepreneurship certification. Take like maybe 5 classes or something that would help you to have the basic skills for something that you're going to do that you already love. Like that would be way better than going and getting a degree because someone said you were supposed to. And I think that's a lot of what happened is that we're in a supposed to culture. You're supposed to you're supposed to feel sorry for these people. You're supposed to do this. You're supposed to we're taking out thinking. And that's what college is needed for, is to teach us how to think.
Yeah.
Not tell us what to think.
Okay. So COVID happens, the whole coronavirus pandemic, and schools kind of scattered to try to make everything distance learning. And I think online education got bolstered and emboldened, and now there's probably a lot more people, I haven't looked at numbers on it, but there's probably a lot more people than there were 2 years ago getting online degrees. How do you leverage distance learning or online degrees, correspondence courses is what our grandparents would call them? How do you leverage community with that?
It's a very common question in the homeschool world. Like, you homeschool, how do you socialize your kids? And I think it's a very similar style question. Like, you go to school online, how do you socialize? I have a life.
Yeah.
So that's part of it, is we don't make school the center of your socialization. We want, so when you buy the Genesis NFT, you're going to be dropped into the, or we're going to ask you to join the Discord community with Xhilo. In that big community is a whole bunch of people that have a passion for education. They see education as valuable. And I am willing to bet that a lot of these people also see that the education system is broken, and they see that we have a chance at fixing it. With the community, like we have to address community when we talk about school. One of the, if you learn in a vacuum, you're not really learning. You have to be able to have conversations with other people to really bring out your thoughts. And so we create that, but we want to do it beyond school. So think of your chess club and your D&D club and your sports club. Like, I'm sure we'll have a fantasy football channel on Discord. Yeah. You know, we're going to have all the reasons that people like to get together.
Yeah.
You know, and then we'll also have a discussion like, hey, these are all the people that are taking an English class right now. Let's all help each other. Right? Let's offer, like, oh, do you use this link for your works cited page? Like everyone likes
so
the
they
Purdue.
can work together and get community even in their coursework. That's neat. And you had mentioned before about, you know, game nights and things like that, movie nights. Discord is really neat for that. If you've never used it for that, definitely check it out. It really does bring digital people together.
Right.
It allows them an area where they can congregate. And I think Gen Z, Gen A are so used to that as a socialization, as a community, that it's what they want.
Right. Did it surprise you the other day when our daughter said, I'm actually more comfortable in front of a camera instead of in front of an audience? And I was like,
yeah,
really? But she's used to it. Like,
yeah,
that's, especially through COVID, like she, you know, got stuck in the house like everyone else, and they were just on camera all day long.
Yeah.
And now it's second nature to them. And being in person will be a little bit harder for them. But we've got a plan for that too. You know, if you're an NFT, if you're a Genesis NFT holder, we're anticipating, we want to offer things like summer trips, go whitewater rafting together for a trip, ski trips in the Rocky Mountains. There's going to be all kinds of reasons to have community and to meet these people that you're chatting with online.
I know we were talking about there's an NFT project called ETHJets that schedules private jet trips and things like that. And one of the airdrops we're talking about doing is giveaways for those charter jet experiences and really like what we used to maybe call a class trip or a field trip in elementary school, whatever, like that's the kind of stuff we're doing digitally, and it's super neat.
Right.
We have the utility that is the discount and the education, but there's further utility even in that type of thing, because we can boost that education and community through those events.
So you've mentioned NFT utility a few times.
Yep.
Can you tell me what that is?
Yeah, so NFT utility is, just like the name implies, it's the utility behind that asset. So if you buy this NFT, it does these things. And in our case, the Xhilo NFT gets you up to 80% off of your college education, the courses that you take. The utility is also that it gives you those education passes that lead to that discount. So with that kind of usability, these education passes in this NFT are so valuable, way more valuable than the cost of the individual items. So some of the utility you see in projects, there was a links. I should probably know these, but I don't off the top of my head. Fly Fishing Club was one of Gary V's. Mm-hmm. It's a restaurant, and you get access to the restaurant. There's a coffee joint in the Bronx that's doing caffeinated perks. If you're an NFT holder, you just show them your digital wallet, they scan your QR code, and you get all of these members only benefits and things like that. Rolex is another one that came out with some utility, probably one of the first to the game, where they were holding events. It was a certificate of authenticity for the watch, because obviously counterfeit Rolexes is a big deal. A certificate of authenticity, but the NFT also gets you into these hoity-toity snobby Rolex events. Fantastic. So a lot of those NFTs back in the day, they didn't have that utility when they launched. They were just pretty pictures and JPEGs that people kind of assigned soft value to. Alien Friends was one of them. They were just really cool little pictures. They were worth a couple $100, maybe $1,000 on the market. Now they're worth millions, just because they're paintings. Same thing as a Mona Lisa. And people say, well, I can snap a picture of the Mona Lisa and it's not the same value. Of course not. It's not the thing. That's what the non-fungible part of NFT really means. It means you can't fake it, you can't reproduce it. This is a physical object. So we just take that physical object and add meaning behind it, when we call that utility.
All right. As you were describing that, I came up with an analogy. I heard an analogy as you were describing that, and it made me think of albums and artwork. Have an album here, the Beatles' Abbey Road, iconic album, mm-hmm. right? If you had an NFT of this album, right, it would be the same as having just the cover, mm-hmm. just the artwork. But if you had an NFT utility, it means the actual album is inside.
Your picture can play songs.
My picture can play songs.
It's a good analogy for what NFTs are, because and that's, it's interesting you use records, because that's one of the things that people are doing, right? People are releasing albums with an NFT album art. When digital music first came out, people were as resistant to that as they have been for NFTs in the last 3-4 years. Mm-hmm. That was one of the things we loved. You open up a cassette tape and it has a smell. It's got lyric sheets. It's got artwork that maybe the band did or whatever. I know Nirvana albums.
Fighting with the packaging to get it open.
Yeah. But there was another added value to that. The utility was music, and that's why you buy albums, right?
Right.
But you get all this extra stuff with it. It's pretty cool.
Right.
Digital music came out. Yeah, we've got unfettered access to every song on the planet, but you don't get that cool stuff with
you don't get to know the artist the way you used to. Like, I remember looking at some of these album covers and imagining meeting that person.
Yeah.
And like having coffee. Like, I'm sitting in a coffee shop and he walks in and I'm like, hey, come sit over here, there's an open seat. Like, I mean, there would be such a relationship developed, but it's because I had all these other pieces. The music is powerful by itself, but not as powerful when you start incorporating all the other senses.
Right. And that was Raya's big complaint about digital media. There was this legendary meeting of Bill Gates's and Steve Jobs with Raya executives and music producers, and they all said people will never go for that. They want the album art, they want all the extras. And they were wrong.
Well, actually, I would argue they were right.
Eventually, they were right.
They just didn't. They didn't realize that it's secondary.
Yeah.
Like we're gonna take them. We're gonna get the music this way, and we're gonna figure out how to get the art in it too.
Yeah. And what happened? They were staunchly against it, and Napster came along,
right,
and gave it all away.
Right.
So you could get it for free because they sat on their laurels too much on the secondary, the non-utility stuff.
Right.
They thought it was too important. And
yeah, if we were to talk from a business sense, they forgot their own mission.
Mm-hmm. Music in your ears.
Right? I mean, if it was that important for the artwork, the better answer would have been, how can we also bring the artwork? Not how can we stop this?
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Well, by then they were panicked because Napster was actually already online,
Yeah.
and that's why they were meeting, because people were stealing their music.
And that's what we're seeing with crypto and NFTs. Like, how many organizations and entities are trying to stop crypto? It's not going to stop. No. Like, that's a train that's already been let out of the depot. The more that I learn about NFTs and about crypto and about this whole world, the more I hear myself saying in 1999, I wish I had invested in Google.
Yeah, that's incredible. If you look at crypto and NFTs right now, think back to the mid 90s, the internet, you're getting AOL CDs every other day in your mailbox, and it's basically just a read-only encyclopedia of information, and everybody's saying this isn't going anywhere.
Yeah.
And companies like Google jumped on, and people started investing when they IPO'd, and those people are millionaires today because Google ended up being immense. Digital music is another one. We have a tendency to just poo-poo the things that we don't understand.
Right.
So I'd like to challenge everyone, if you don't understand NFTs, don't poo-poo the Xhilo thing yet. Take a look at the website, xhilo.io. It's xhilo.io. Take a look at that website and learn what it's about. Ask some questions. Join the Discord community. You will be happy you did once you understand how it works, but don't make the same mistake that we made with digital music, that we made with Google, that we made with the internet. Right. E-commerce is another one.
If you're like me, you're 44 years old, and you remember the Google boom, and you remember going, should I invest in that?
Mm-hmm.
And I said, nah. And oh my gosh. So when I heard of this utility, because you have to watch the pattern, right? And Google wasn't anybody when we were looking at it. They were a competitor to Yahoo, and everybody loved Yahoo, and they're not going to take out Yahoo. Yeah. Right? And think of all the negative things that are being said about NFTs right now. They're useless. Well, ours isn't. If you went into a record store and the first 20 albums that you pick up are empty, you're walking out of that store.
That is a fantastic analogy. Yeah, absolutely.
So we're trying to place ourselves in front of you to say, we have the album.
Open the album.
Open the album. Like we'll prove it. We have the album. and what we're seeing a lot of other NFT projects are doing is you open the album cover and there's a slip of paper that says coming soon.
I owe you one record.
I owe you one record, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean that's noble. I don't want to dog the companies that are doing that, the NFT projects with really good utility behind them, you know, because some people are doing it right. Like, you know, but even the Fly Fish Club or the Lynx membership for the golf courses, like, they still have a lot of promises down the road that you're not guaranteed that they're going to fulfill.
Yeah.
So what we're trying to do is make sure that anything that we advertise is in stone at this point, and the 80% off is definitely in stone. We talked about a few perks that we're planning and things like that, but our roadmap isn't going to have that stuff on it because we only want to promise what we're ready to provide.
Absolutely. Yeah. We love dreaming and we love coming up with ideas, but promises are important.
I'm done. Halfway through that one, after I restarted, I was sitting down because the damn camera shut off.
Yeah, that's hard.